So I've just finished up 4 weeks on the sugar diet, and I thought I'd do a video kind of giving you an overview of kind of how it went, kind of my thoughts, and if I'm going to be carrying on with it going forward. So to put it straight out there, I'm not actually going to be carrying on with it per se going forward. Now, there are a couple of reasons which we're going to discuss now, but the first reason really for me is I don't feel like I'm setting the right example to my kids. Now, I did actually say to my daughter, who's 6 going on 7, when I started this, I said, oh, I'm going to be doing a bit of an experiment. After some time, as I was kind of choosing certain foods and kind of smashing back a load of sugar, even though it was an experiment, I know my kids look to me as an example, and especially my son, who's just 2.5 as well, he doesn't necessarily understand what I'm doing. So he's just seeing all the food that I'm eating and the types of food that I'm eating. And as someone who wants to, you know, lead from the front within the family and kind of set an example to my kids to make sure that they're eating as healthily as they can, providing their body with the right nutrients, and essentially following a nutrition approach that is going to fulfill them and kind of give them the best nutrients. For me, I followed it. I felt really good. I had loads of energy, as I said. My weight was coming down, and it came down a hell of a lot, which is something I'll touch on in a minute. And as a whole, I really enjoyed it. But as essentially a nutrition strategy to kind of go forward with long term, I just don't think it's setting the right example for my kids, in my opinion. Now, the second point is actually what I found is I was using the sugar diet or sugar fasting to essentially lean towards more ultra processed foods, which is actually something I was trying to stay well away from. Now, obviously the idea of fruit juices, sugar isn't too bad. And then obviously sweets are a nice to have. You don't have to have them, but they're a way that you can obviously get some extra sugar in. I was finding myself that because I started to eat these sweets, I started to use it as an excuse to start eating them more and more. And I just found it wasn't setting me up for a success, essentially. It was going against what I'm trying to essentially do, and just to eat a lot better and to kind of remove a lot of these ultra processed foods. And whether they're good or bad for you, that's out for debate. I don't feel they're going to be good for you. So really, I thought maybe staying away from those sweets was the best choice. But then I just found that was all I was craving. And I wasn't even craving it because it's not something that I have normally in my day-to-day diet. So I actually decided to think, well, not actually decided, I just stopped having them when I stopped kind of following the sugar diet per se. Now, probably one of the hardest things that I found was I just missed proteins and fats too much. My breakfast of mince, avocado, and eggs, I was just craving it so much. And it's, for me, that breakfast is extremely nutritious and I feel really good eating it. Don't get me wrong, having a fruit smoothie was filling and yeah, it was all good. But for me, I think the nutrients and the whole food approach from the mince, avocado, and eggs just leaves me feeling a lot more satiated and feeling a lot more energized. Not necessarily in an energy way, but I just feel better. So that was probably the big thing for me. Kind of having those smoothies were great, but it just got too much, really, in my opinion. And then lastly, I think it was a little bit antisocial with my family because we're sitting down for an evening meal and I'm having a fruit smoothie while everyone else is having proper food. And my kids are looking at me like, what are you doing? And same with my wife, really. But for me, it just doesn't fit in my current lifestyle and it doesn't fit in my family life, really. I can obviously do this myself and do it for periods of time, but to follow a sugar fasting approach for most of my days of the week, it just doesn't really feel worth it for me. So even though I felt incredible, I felt fully energized, my weight was coming down. Yeah, it's great, but I just think for the long term, it just doesn't really fit in with my current lifestyle, my current family, kind of ways of eating and approaching essentially nutrition. Now, I did lose a bunch of weight. I started out around the 107.1, I think it was, and I finished at 101.7. And the main reason I actually finished was because I got neurovirus, and over those days, obviously I didn't eat, I actually got below 100 kilos. And as I come back out, the foods that I was craving to kind of build myself back up wasn't necessarily a fruit smoothie. There was fruits that I was craving, but smashing back a fruit smoothie or a bunch of sugar wasn't really at the top of my priority list. So I decided it was a perfect time to kind of transition back to more of a whole food approach, you know, focusing on good quality proteins, carbs and fats kind of spread throughout the day, mainly aiming towards, leaning towards the proteins and fats. One, because I just really enjoy it, but two, it's just how I feel is the right way to approach my nutrition. And yes, weight loss is a goal to some degree, but to me, it's more than weight loss. As I said at the start of this video, how I eat sets the precedent to my kids. And if I'm shoveling in a load of sugar consistently, I don't really think that's the right approach that my kids should have. And the reason I know this is because when they see me and my wife training, they want to come and do that as well. They want to do what we do. And if I'm eating like a child, essentially, I just don't think it's good for them. And I don't really think as a long-term approach for myself, it's going to be the right strategy for me. However, something I did take away from this, which I found was probably the biggest thing, was I was just under eating carbohydrates. And that has been the biggest game changer because I've now seen and I've felt the physical benefits of them. My nutrition now includes a fruit smoothie pretty much every day because I felt great when I had the smoothie. But now rather than solely eating sugar, I'm now adding in the protein and the fats throughout the day as well. So the smoothie is now just part of my day rather than everything I'm eating. And that was probably the biggest thing I took away from it. I have kind of gone back to caffeine now, and I did start to gravitate back towards caffeine. I found probably about week 3, and I love coffee too much. I enjoy the process. Well, it's probably just what an addict says, but I enjoy it too much. So, and again, it's a social thing for me and my wife. Like, we like to have a coffee together. We like to sit there, you know, sit on the deck underneath the pergola, have a coffee in the sun while the kids are at school and nursery. So I didn't want to ruin that because that's a big part of my morning essentially. But as a whole, I'm a fan of sugar fasting. The amount of success stories that I've seen online has been fantastic, and it goes against the narrative. And I'm a big fan of counter narrative stuff. And I think it's really important you try things before you bash on them or before you start promoting them. I do think you should try things. And for me, 4 weeks was sufficient to kind of feel, okay, is this something I want to continue with? And just as I believe, I just don't think it's going to be the right thing for me going forward. However, coming up to my half Ironmans that that I've got soon, that's in 11, 12 weeks time, it was the eye opener for me that I do need to increase my carbohydrates a lot more because I did feel the benefit in my endurance training. So it is something I'm going to be thinking about a lot more. So that's been the sugar diet. It's been fun. And definitely recommend giving it a try for someone that's looking to lose a bit of weight and wants to kind of try something different. But I'm glad that I've tried it. That's the main thing, because now I can say I've tried that. It's good, but it's just not for me, rather than just going, it's crap or it's great. You've got to give these things a try to actually have a narrative. So thanks a lot for watching. If you've got any questions, do drop it in the comments below. I'd love to answer them there. It's really interesting to see how you guys are getting on with the sugar diet, how you're finding it. And yeah, if you've got any questions following on from this video, let me know. And if there's anything you'd like to see or do a follow-up video to this, drop it in the comments and I'll look to see what I can do. So thanks a lot for watching. I'll catch you guys in that next video.